my second milestone, I added a joystick that has two different modes for increased functionality, and I also improved the button layout as well as structure. My favorite part about this project so far was being able to test it out on some of my favorite browser games. And one challenge that I continued to run into was creating a button that would allow me to seamlessly switch between two modes, a game mode and a browser mode. Here's the improved model of the original circuit. As you can see, all the pins on the control stick are connected directly to the Arduino Micro by their respective pins. So ground would go to ground, 5 volts to 5 volts, and the rest would go to sensor pins. Namely, VRX and VRY are analog, and SW is digital. Now moving back to the original push button design, you might notice that the buttons themselves look different. This is because the original models were ergonomically faulty, and these ones are just simply more bright and also wider and more available to and more functionally usable. And as we see on the circuit, you may notice that there is no actual connection to a power source. This is because the sensor wires, which coil around the breadboard back to the Arduino Micro, the digital pins to which they are connected are all initialized as pull-up resistors. And in this case, what that means is the pins will return that there is a voltage unless the button is clicked. So right now there is currently no voltage that the sensor wire is picking up on. Whereas when I let go, there is. On the coding side, I want to focus primarily on the addition of the control stick. In the first part, trigger mouse has two primary functions. The first of which is to move the mouse given analog inputs from VRX and VRY, as you can see here. And the second half is to click the left mouse button if the stick is being pressed down. And as you can see above, we have a map function, and alongside it there are various thresholds. This is primarily to ramp up the speed of the mouse to create a more smooth transition between fine adjustments and more coarse but quick changes. On the second half, I use the same concepts but replaced the mouse functionality for WASD. A map function is used to determine if the stick is being moved enough from the resting position and in which direction, hence why it's both a smaller number and why there is both negative and positive integers being used. Based on this information, the corresponding key is held until the stick is no longer beyond the threshold. So an example would be that if the control stick is moved left far enough, the A key will be pressed and held down until I let go of the control stick. Finally, I'm going to use Friday Night Funkin' as an example to show how WASD works on my control stick. And for reference, WASD corresponds to the arrow keys, just as it would in the same layout. And currently my sister is using the control stick and it's taking the same exact inputs, just on a different platform.